Wednesday begins. The early morning light filters through the window, casting a soft glow over the bedroom. It's a new day, but for Daniel, it feels like the same endless cycle of torment. Daniel wakes up and still doesn't take his medication. The bottle sits on his nightstand, a silent reminder of what he should be doing. He stares at it for a moment, contemplating, but ultimately decides against it. The thought of the side effects, the numbness, and the fog it brings is too much for him to bear. His condition begins to show that it's getting worse as he gets up, and the walls of the room look like they are breathing. The once familiar surroundings now seem alien and hostile. The walls undulate as if they are alive, and Daniel feels a sense of dread creeping in. The ceiling has a heartbeat, and things begin to pulse in the room. It's as if the entire room is a living entity, pulsating with a rhythm that matches his own frantic heartbeat. The objects around him seem to move in sync with this eerie cadence, creating a disorienting and surreal atmosphere. His day begins with him vomiting again, sitting on the floor of the bathroom, hearing whispers and indistinct voices. The whispers are relentless, a constant murmur that he can't escape. They seem to come from everywhere and nowhere, filling his mind with a cacophony of noise that drowns out his own thoughts. Daniel lights up a cigarette and tries to calm down. The smoke fills his lungs, providing a momentary sense of relief. He heads to the kitchen to cook breakfast, hoping that the routine will ground him, but the sense of normalcy is fleeting. This time, the food has even more blood in it. The sight is grotesque, and Daniel can't tell if it's real or another hallucination. The blood oozes from the food, staining the plate and filling the air with a metallic scent. The bloody food is unsettling. Every drop of blood and every unsettling texture is a visual representation of Daniel's deteriorating mental state. The walls continue to breathe and the ceiling continues to pulse. The room feels like it's closing in on him, the boundaries between reality and hallucination blurring more with each passing moment. Daniel's grip on sanity is slipping and he knows it. He pours some bourbon and drinks while he cooks. The alcohol burns his throat, but it numbs the edges of his anxiety. It's a temporary escape, a way to dull the overwhelming sensations that threaten to consume him. As he takes another sip, he wonders how much longer he can keep this up, how much longer he can fight against the madness that is slowly taking over his life. Daniel eats breakfast, smokes a cigarette while talking to Plato. The morning light filters through the window, casting a soft glow on the cluttered kitchen table. The dog, Plato, sits attentively by his side, his eyes filled with a mix of loyalty and concern. Daniel's movements are slow, almost mechanical, as he takes a drag from his cigarette and absent-mindedly scratches Plato behind the ears. The bond between man and dog is palpable, a silent understanding that speaks volumes. The scene tries to express he is close with the dog and also lost and heartbroken over Rachel. Rachel's absence is a gaping void in Daniel's life, a wound that refuses to heal. Every corner of the house holds a memory of her, from the faded photographs on the wall to the empty chair at the dining table. Plato seems to sense Daniel's sorrow, his head resting on Daniel's knee as if offering silent comfort. The house, once filled with laughter and love, now feels like a hollow shell, echoing with the ghosts of happier times. While he sits there drinking his bourbon and smoking a cigarette, his brother Ray comes by to check on him and brings him some food. Ray's arrival is a stark contrast to the somber atmosphere. He enters with a concerned expression, carrying a bag of groceries. The sight of his younger brother in such a state of disarray tugs at his heartstrings. Ray places the bag on the table, his eyes scanning the room, taking in the clutter and the overwhelming sense of desolation. Ray says, "Hey, how's my little brother?" His voice is gentle, laced with concern. He pulls up a chair and sits across from Daniel, trying to catch his eye. "I'm all right," taking it one day at a time. Daniel's response is weary, his voice barely above a whisper. He avoids Ray's gaze, focusing instead on the cigarette between his fingers. Ray continues on. "Well, I brought you some food." Ray's attempt to lighten the mood is met with a half-hearted smile from Daniel. He reaches into the bag and pulls out a container of homemade lasagna, placing it in front of his brother. Danny replies, "I already ate, but I'll save it for later." Daniel's smile doesn't reach his eyes, but he takes the food nonetheless. It's a small gesture, but it means the world to Ray. Daniel takes the food and puts it in the microwave. The microwave hums to life, filling the silence with its low, steady drone. Daniel stands there for a moment, staring at the rotating container as if lost in thought. "Wow, Danny," says Ray. "I've never seen this place look so empty." Ray's voice breaks the silence, drawing Daniel's attention back to the present. He looks around the room, seeing it through his brother's eyes. Daniel replies, "I guess. It's okay, I don't need much to get me by." Daniel's shrug is nonchalant, but there's a hint of sadness in his voice. The emptiness of the house mirrors the emptiness he feels inside. The seemingly empty house feels lonely. The dim lighting casts long shadows, adding to the sense of isolation. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the curtains seems to amplify the loneliness that permeates the air. Ray says, "I was thinking, Danny, why don't you come stay with me and Laurie for a little bit?" Ray's suggestion is filled with hope, a lifeline he's throwing to his brother. He knows that Daniel needs more than just physical sustenance. He needs emotional support, a reminder that he's not alone. Daniel replies, "I'm okay where I'm at. You worry too much." Daniel's dismissal is gentle but firm. He appreciates Ray's concern, but he's not ready to leave the sanctuary of his home, no matter how empty it feels. Ray says, "Danny, you're my little brother, and I'm always here for you." Ray's voice is steady, filled with unwavering support. He reaches across the table, placing a hand on Daniel's arm. "I just don't know. I like the thought of you being here alone every day. 3 years is a long time." Ray's worry is palpable. 3 years have passed since Rachel left him for Todd Sumner, and he fears that Daniel is still trapped in his grief, unable to move forward. Daniel says, "Thanks, Ray, but I'm okay. I got Max here to keep me company." Daniel's hand moves to pet Max, who wags his tail in response. The dog's presence is a small comfort, a reminder that he's not entirely alone. Ray replies, "So, you're okay? You've been taking your medication?" Ray's question is gentle but probing. He knows that Daniel's mental health is fragile and he wants to make sure his brother is taking care of himself. Daniel says, "Ray, I'm all right, bro. Thanks for the food, but you don't have to worry about me so much. I'm fine." Daniel's smile is resigned, a mask he wears to reassure his brother. He doesn't want Ray to see the depth of his pain. Ray says, "Well, okay, bro, I got to go." Ray's reluctance is evident. He doesn't want to leave Daniel alone, but he knows he can't force his brother to accept help. "I told Laurie I would stop and pick her up something for her migraines." Ray stands up, his mind already shifting to his next task. Laurie's migraines have been a constant source of worry, and he wants to make sure she has what she needs. Daniel says, "She's still having those?" Daniel's concern for Laurie is genuine. Despite his own struggles, he cares deeply for his sister-in-law. Ray replies, "Yeah, we're thinking about seeing a doctor, but you know how Laurie is when it comes to hospitals." Ray's sigh is heavy with frustration. Laurie's aversion to hospitals has made it difficult to get her the help she needs. Daniel says, "Be safe, brother. Get home and take care of your wife." Daniel's words are a reminder of the bond they share. No matter what, family comes first. Ray replies, "I love you, Danny. Call me if you need me, man." Ray's voice is filled with love and concern. He wants Daniel to know that he's always just a phone call away. Daniel replies, "Yeah, love you too. Thanks, bro." Ray exits the scene. As Ray leaves, the house feels a little emptier, but Daniel knows he's not alone. He has Max and he has his brother, and for now, that's enough. Daniel, with wet hair, brushes his teeth after his shower, and his reflection doesn't move with him. It stays still and begins to slightly smile, the image taunting him, singing in a creepy voice. "Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling." Daniel says, "I don't have time for this." Daniel leaves the mirror and the reflection watches him leave the bathroom. Scene ends. 7 p.m. Wednesday night. Danny is now in his car, following Todd around with a gun in his car. He follows him until he pulls up at Rachel's house. You can see the anger in Danny's face, and his anger shows more as he grips the gun tightly. Danny goes home, does more cocaine, and smokes marijuana while drinking bourbon. The whispers and voices begin to get worse, and the worse they get, the more he drinks. As Danny goes to the bathroom, he is once again caught by Mirror Danny, who starts to talk to him, saying how they need to get rid of Todd. Danny comes back to the living room where he finds Rachel again. Rachel says, "Hi, stranger," she says as she smiles and does some of the cocaine on the table. The room is filled with a heavy, almost suffocating atmosphere, the dim lighting casting long shadows that dance eerily on the walls. Rachel's eyes are glazed, a telltale sign of her indulgence in the drugs that lay scattered on the table before her. The air is thick with tension, a palpable sense of unease that seems to cling to every surface. Daniel yells, "You're not fucking real." His voice trembles with a mix of anger and desperation, his eyes wide with a frantic energy. He runs a hand through his hair, tugging at the roots as if trying to pull himself back to reality. The room feels like it's closing in on him, the walls pressing closer with each passing second. "Why won't you just go away?" Rachel replies sarcastically. "Come on, Danny." Her voice is soft, almost soothing, but there's an edge to it, a sharpness that cuts through the haze of the room. She leans forward, her movements slow and deliberate, as if she's trying to draw him into her web. "Why do you have to be that way? Just enjoy the moment." Her words hang in the air, a tempting offer that seems to shimmer with a dangerous allure. She reaches out, her fingers brushing against his arm, a touch that sends a shiver down his spine. Daniel makes his way over to the couch, sits down, and pours himself a drink. The liquid sloshes in the glass, a small comfort in the midst of the chaos. He takes a long sip, the burn of the alcohol grounding him, if only for a moment. "The thought of you is going to torment me forever, I think." His voice is barely above a whisper, a confession that seems to echo in the stillness of the room. He stares into his glass, the amber liquid reflecting the dim light, a mirror to his own turmoil. Rachel says excitedly, "Why are you complaining about the ride when you're the one driving?" Her words are a challenge, a taunt that cuts through his defenses. She shifts closer, her presence a constant reminder of the past he's trying so hard to escape. Rachel tries to scoot closer to Daniel. Her movements are slow, almost predatory, as if she's stalking her prey. The space between them shrinks, the tension growing with each inch she closes. Daniel gets up and makes his way to the bedroom, slamming the door. The sound reverberates through the house, a final punctuation to their confrontation. He leans against the door, his breath coming in ragged gasps, the weight of the encounter pressing down on him. The lighting behind the door is an ominous red glow. It seeps through the cracks, casting an eerie light that seems to pulse with a life of its own. Daniel closes his eyes, the red glow burning into his eyelids, a reminder of the darkness that still lingers just beyond the door. Daniel looks at his phone. A message from Todd Sumner appears on the screen. "Rachel is with me now. Let her go, Danny." The words hit him like a punch to the gut, the reality of the situation sinking in. Plato, his loyal dog, sits by the door looking up at him with concerned eyes. Daniel takes a deep breath, the presence of Plato offering a small comfort amidst the chaos. Daniel Delaney has now unfortunately entered an unstoppable descent into madness.